Good evening. Welcome to the Nightline.
As always, thank you for joining us. I'm Razi Ahmad.
And I'm Shira Abang Mansur. Let's get right into the news. Shall we, Razi?
Go ahead, Shira.
Heavy rains, which coincided with high tide since Friday night, have flooded several areas in Bintulu. According to Bintulu Fire and Rescue Department Chief Wan Kamaruddin Wan Ahmad, 252 victims from 79 families were evacuated, including a disabled person, OKU.
Hujan lebat bermula lebih kurang pukul 6 petang sehingga pukul 7 telah menyebabkan banjir di beberapa kawasan sekitar kawasan Asakirin, Setiam, Sungai Silas, Kidurong, Sungai Pelan dan beberapa kawasan di Bintulu. Dan untuk pusat perpindahan sementara banjir buat masa ini telah diwujudkan di Stadium Muhibah Bintulu. Dan berdasarkan keadaan terkini, keadaan cuaca di Bintulu walaupun keadaan cuaca tidak hujan, namun demikian kita mendapat maklumat bahawa paras air ataupun trend air ini adalah semakin.
He added another temporary evacuation center has been opened at Bintulu Community Hall to accommodate the increasing number of evacuees. Meanwhile, during the operation, 21 personnel, including senior officers, were mobilized on location with assets including 2 boats, 3 Hilux trucks, a Range Rover and lorry deployed for evacuation purposes. Wan Kamaruddin also said firefighters were assisted by the police and the Bintulu Civil Defence Force personnel. He advised the public to make sure all important documents and goods were stored in specific places to ease the moving process.
Dan juga sentiasa ikuti perkembangan terkini bagi mengenai banjir-banjir di Bintulu, serta sentiasa mengikuti arahan sekiranya diminta untuk pindah oleh pihak berkuasa, dan seterusnya hubungi bilik gerakan banjir, iaitu Jawatan Kuasa Bencana Bintulu, ataupun boleh telefon terus kepada kita di Balai Bomba dan Penyelamat Bintulu di talian 086 33 2222.
The Employees Provident Fund (EPF) contributors can still opt to maintain their employees' contribution share at 11% by completing the form, which is available on the EPF website.
The Employees Provident Fund (EPF) in a statement today said employees' 2021 share of the statutory contribution rate will be reduced to 9% from 11%. The EPF said the new statutory contribution rate from employees applies only to members under 60 years old who are liable for contributions. The new rates will be in effect for an entire year, affecting wages from the month of January 2021, February 2021's contribution, up to December 2021, January 2022's contribution. It said members who wish to maintain the contribution rate for employees at 11% may fill in the Borang KWSP 17A Khas 2021 form, which will be made available on the EPF website www.kwsp.gov.my starting December 1st, 2020. The reduction of the 9% contribution rate also receives a positive response from the public, especially in reducing expenses when the country is still affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okey, dari sebelum tu, balance kami pun gaji pun makin besar. Kami dapat saving yang lebihnya lah. Dapat membantu kami beri dengan keluarga lebih lagi dari sebelum tu.
Laban gaji dah cukup besar, laban uliah kena berbayar ke utai sekedar ke, uliah kira menggaya bala anak ke, uliah berbayar ke utai kebuka-bukai yang juga. Menahlah barunya aku.
Penemu aku penurunan kadar KWSP ngagis 9% tu utai ke mana, laban ya uliah makin mimit ya diputung, makin mayuh gaji kita bisiknya, kita boleh makin mayuh utai boleh dibeli kita, belanja kita pun akan cukup lama. Nya alai bab penemu aku ya sigi ke mana.
Right, Sarawak again recorded 0 COVID-19 cases today, making the total number of cases remain at 1,062. Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee SDMC in a statement said 6 COVID-19 clusters remained active in the state, with Besi cluster recording 12 cases, Jalan Abel cluster 15, Baki cluster 33, Sladah cluster 9, Green Hill cluster 91 and Wisma Saberkas cluster 44. The committee also said there are 2 recovery and discharge cases from Sarawak General Hospital today, and 23 patients were still receiving treatments in hospitals, with 20 patients currently being treated in Sarawak General Hospital, 2 in Sibu Hospital and 1 in Miri Hospital. Meanwhile, 6 new COVID-19 clusters detected in Sabah, Selangor and Kuala Lumpur over the past 24 hours. The clusters were known as the PTS Sibuga, Jesselton construction site, Dermaga and Tempasok clusters in Sabah, as well as the UDSS2 cluster in Selangor and the Awan Baru construction site in Kuala Lumpur. For the number of new cases, the Health Ministry reported 1,350 new COVID-19 cases and 4 deaths. Of the 1,350 new cases, 5 of them were import cases.
COVID-19 vaccines will be available to all Sarawakians, as promised by Chief Minister of Sarawak, Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari, Tun Openg.
Since every Sarawakian will be getting a vaccines, and then I even elaborate further. I mean, what are some of the figures for you? What are the things to look for, and how are we going to assess these vaccines and so on?
Local Government and Housing Minister Dato Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian said the vaccine will only be given to those who agree to take the vaccine, especially the high-risk groups for COVID-19, and seek advice from medical experts on the use of the vaccine. He said this when witnessing the handover of 40,000 ringgit from OCBC Bank Kuching branch to Kidney Associations of Sarawak KAS and Rotary Club of Kuching RCK during a ceremony held at the KAS National Kidney Foundation Dialysis Centre on Saturday. The contribution will benefit 72 patients who are permanent users of the NKF in Kota Semarahan.
A new low-risk COVID-19 quarantine and treatment centre PKRC is opened at the Arena Badminton in Kinta District, Perak. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the 160-bed PKRC would cater to each gender, 80 beds each, mainly for step-down Care Plus Stage 1 and 2 cases.
Dr. Noh Hisham, in his Facebook posting, said the PKRC will help ease the loads of the main hospitals in the area. As of noon, Perak had recorded 1,498 COVID-19 positive cases with 13 deaths. Dr. Noh Hisham thanked all staff of the Ministry of Health and lauded their close collaboration with other ministries and agencies to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country. On a separate posting, Dr. Noh Hisham said the Semporna Hospital Isolation Ward had been fully completed and was in operational since November 22 as part of the action to tackle the spread of COVID-19 in Sabah. He said the ward has 9 beds, in which 1 bed is put in the first-class ward and the other 8 in the normal ward. According to him, the isolation ward has negative pressure isolation rooms equipped with HEPA filters, 2 intensive care unit ICU beds, 2 ventilators, including a mobile ventilator. He added the facility will boost the readiness of the hospital in facing the pandemic, specifically on the east coast of Sabah. Meanwhile, in a separate posting, Dr. Noh Hisham conducted a working visit to the Enhanced Movement Control Order area in Jalan Teratai, Klang earlier this morning, together with senior officers of the department and other government agencies. He said the EMCO in Jalan Teratai was divided into 2 sectors, namely Sector A and Sector B, with each housing male and female hostels. He was also briefed on the latest development in the management of the EMCO by the Klang District Health Officer, Dr. Masita Mohammed, whereby she explained that the health management was given by health personnel from the Klang PKD and the Meru Health Clinic, assisted by health personnel from other districts and non-government organizations. Health management activities encompass COVID-19 screening swab tests, medical readiness, managing issuance directives for home surveillance order, managing admittance of positive cases to the hospital, and data management. As many as 400 participants from 19 villages partook in gotong royong to clear up water hyacinths at Batang Oya River that have constricted the river flow. Minister of Welfare, Community Wellbeing, Women, Family and Childhood Development, Dato Sri Fatimah Abdullah, said the water hyacinths are seen to multiply exponentially and are feared to pose a danger to boat users.
Fatima said the rate of reproduction of the water hyacinth, a relative of the water lily, would also attract mosquitoes to breed. As seen in Ghana, Africa, the water hyacinth is frequently linked to the spread of malaria. It doesn't end there. The plant will also provide the perfect camouflage for crocodiles that have been increasing in numbers in the Oya River. For the short term, a total of 20,000 ringgit have been allocated for cleanup purposes using amphibious vehicles of barge. 10,000 ringgit have also been channeled by the Mukah River Board to organize gotong royongs in jetty areas as well as affected village harbours. As for the long term, Fatima said the Sarawak Transport Ministry will work together with Department of Irrigation and Drainage DID Sarawak and UNIMAS to conduct detailed research on mitigating the problem. She explained that Mukah DID will consider setting aside a large long-term budget for this purpose.
Right. Relations and cooperation between parties in Perikatan Nasional, Barisan Nasional, Gabungan Parti Sarawak and Gabungan Rakyat Sabah will be strengthened even more, especially in facing the 15th general election. In the upcoming general election, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said it is crucial that there be no infighting between parties in PN. For that purpose, a joint program will be organized at the federal, state and grassroots level to form closer relations between parties in the PN government.
Saya juga ingin mencadangkan supaya pertemuan antara ketua-ketua parti yang membentuk Kerajaan Perikatan Nasional diadakan secara lebih kerap. Mungkin sudah sampai masanya sebuah majlis presiden yang dianggotai oleh ketua-ketua parti dan Perikatan Nasional, Barisan Nasional, Gabungan Parti Sarawak, Gabungan Rakyat Sabah diwujudkan. Mesyuarat secara berkala boleh diadakan untuk membincangkan perkara-perkara yang berkaitan dengan dasar-dasar ekonomi, pendidikan, sosial dan lain-lain.
Commenting further, Muhyiddin said the matter is important as all party leaders are in the cabinet and that through the meetings, each party leader can present the views of their respective parties, especially regarding government policies, for the purview of the cabinet.
Saya percaya dalam pilihan raya umum yang akan datang, Perikatan Nasional akan diterima oleh rakyat Malaysia. Itu Dato' Haji. Kajian-kajian yang dijalankan menunjukkan penerimaan rakyat Malaysia terhadap PN adalah tinggi. Oleh yang demikian, Bersatu telah pun membuat keputusan untuk menggunakan logo Perikatan Nasional dalam pilihan raya umum ke-15 yang akan datang.
He said the establishment of PN as a new political coalition is an important achievement in the history of the nation's politics that will for sure accomplish great things in the time to come.
Right, UMNO President Dato' Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has expressed hope that the party will be given a walkover in the Greek parliamentary by-election in Perak in view of the COVID-19 pandemic.
In connection with this, Zahid also hoped that Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia Bersatu and PAS, who are UMNO's partners in Perikatan Nasional, would pave the way for UMNO to defend its seat should it be contested. The support of both parties is necessary for UMNO to triumph again in its Gerik stronghold. The Election Commission has set January 16, 2021 for the Gerik parliamentary by-election following the death of its incumbent, Datuk Hasbullah Osman, 63, on November 16 due to heart attack. In the 13th general election, Hasbullah defeated Nur Hayati Kasim from PAS with a majority of 6,216 votes and retained the seat in GE14 with a majority of 5,528 votes to win against PAS candidate Muhammad Dahalan Ismail and Bersatu candidate Ibrahim Muhammad Hanafiah. On the potential candidate, Ahmad Zahid, who is also the Barisan Nasional BN chairman, said the party would field a local candidate. The UMNO president said he would let Perak UMNO Liaison Committee Chairman Datuk Saarani Muhammad to hold in-depth discussions with the Gerik division of the suitable candidate to contest in the by-election. On the possibility of the Gerik parliamentary by-election being postponed due to emergency, as what happened in Batu Sapi, Sabah, Ahmad Zahid said it may not happen as Gerik is in the green zone. Meanwhile, Ahmad Zahid said Perak UMNO Liaison Committee Secretary Dato' Azlan Osman has been appointed as Deputy Chairman to replace Hasbullah.
The sitting of the Dewan Rakyat for the third meeting of the third term of the 14th Parliament has been increased by 2 days, making the duration of the whole sitting at 29 days and will end on December 17. According to a letter from the Office of the Secretary of Dewan Rakyat last Friday, the amendment was in line with Standing Order 11(2) of the Dewan Rakyat.
Based on the resolution, the head or deputy head of the House could change the stipulated date from time to time. The Dewan Rakyat sitting prior to this was scheduled to end on December 15th with the 2021 budget debate session at the committee level. According to the letter, the additional 2 days today was allocated for the tabling of bills and other government businesses. An amendment was also made to the calendar of Dewan Negara, which would convene from December 16 to 23rd, compared to the original date of December 14 to 23rd. According to a letter from the Office of the Secretary of Dewan Negara to the members of the Senate, the period was fixed by Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as a leader of the House via a letter dated November 11th to the Dewan Negara President. It was in line with the Standing Order 10(2) and 14(2) of Dewan Negara, whereby based on the Standing Order 10(2), the fixing of the dates of sitting must be made by the head or deputy of the House at least 28 days before the start of every term. Meanwhile, according to Standing Order 14(2), government businesses must be set down in such order as the government thinks fit and told to the Secretary.
The recent spike in COVID-19 positive cases in Malaysia, including Johor, may have delayed efforts to reopen the Malaysia-Singapore border. Johor Menteri Besar Datuk Hasni Mohamad admitted that the increase in the number of positive cases involved several districts.
However, Hasni said the state government is very grateful to the federal government for agreeing to implement the Conditional Movement Control Order (CMCO) in certain areas instead of the state as a whole. The closure of the Malaysia-Singapore border began on March 18th when the government imposed the movement control order in the country to curb the spread of COVID-19 infection. The move has affected hundreds of thousands of Malaysians working in Singapore as they weren't able to commute daily via the Johor Causeway or the Malaysia-Singapore Second Link. Meanwhile, Hasni said that the implementations of the food basket program for the Malaysians in Singapore will begin soon to facilitate those who have been really affected by the border closure. Hasni said the food baskets, a collaborative effort with the Malaysian High Commission in Singapore and the Malaysia-Singapore Association, will be sent through a non-governmental organisation called Southern Volunteers.
Welcome back. The Malaysian Football League MFL have announced the withdrawal of both CIMB and AirAsia from the Malaysian League 2021 season.
Its Chief Executive Officer Dato' Abdul Ghani Hassan said they respected the decisions of both the companies but stressed that planning for the new season would continue as normal. He said the MFL, who held a meeting with CIMB representatives a few days ago, were still waiting for an official letter from the bank regarding its decision to withdraw as sponsors. Abdul Ghani also disclosed that telecommunications company Telekom Malaysia Berhad TM remained committed to being the main sponsor for the 2021 M-League following a meeting he held with MFL President Datuk Hamidin Muhammad Amin and TM's top management representatives on September 21st. Abdul Ghani also announced that isotonic drink manufacturers FNN 100 Plus had agreed to continue its sponsorship in the form of goods only without involving cash sponsorship like last season. However, Shopee's status as a sponsor is still being negotiated based on the presence of spectators in stadiums next season. Meanwhile, he confirmed that MFL were holding talks with several new parties keen on becoming sponsors next year.
The shirt worn by Diego Maradona when he scored his famous Hand of God goal against England at the 1986 World Cup in Mexico could be available for $2 million. Well, the shirt is currently on display at England's National Football Museum in Manchester. The shirt was given to former England international Steve Hodge by Maradona himself after the quarter-final match in Mexico City. Steve Hodge said he managed to exchange shirts with Diego Maradona while they were walking in the tunnel after the iconic clash in the quarter-final. David Emmerman of Golden Auction in New Jersey believes the shirt could well fetch as much as $2 million and that the owner was willing for a private sale. But Emmerman sounded a note of caution for those thinking of getting involved in the Maradona memorabilia market following the Argentine's death, aged 60, after a heart attack. One man who won't be putting the shirt Maradona gave him on the open market is ex-Arsenal and Juventus player Liam Brady. The former Ireland midfielder played against Maradona many times for the club and country, and the Argentine gave him an unusual number 17 shirt rather than his usual number 10 after a game in 1979.
The approval by Parliament of the Supply Bill 2021 Budget 2021 worth 322.5 billion ringgit at the policy stage on Thursday seems to see neutral reactions from markets. An analyst said markets will continue monitoring revenue projection pending Parliament's passing of the proposed budget.
According to the Economic Outlook 2021 report, government revenue is expected to reach 236.9 billion ringgit, or 15.1% of the country's gross domestic product (GDP) next year. The higher projection is based on the expected increase in tax revenue collection to 174.4 billion ringgit and non-tax revenue of 62.5 billion ringgit. Afin Huang Asset Management Berhad Managing Director Teng Chi Wai said failure to pass the budget may engulf markets in a cloud of risk aversion. He said the budget approval was vital for investors in ensuring growth of the economy, which is seen to be recovering. He hopes as a market player that the government would develop a more strategic agenda to help the economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and sustain Malaysia as a country of choice for investors.
And that concludes the Nightline.
Thank you for joining us. As always, I am Razi Ahmad.
And I'm Shira Abang Mansur. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night.
Stay safe.